Okay, so I did want to try something a little bit different today, because obviously my goal for these videos is to kind of be chatty and bantery. Basically, the title of the video will be a question, and I will know I haven't really tackled the question. I just wanted to have a chat about it, and I just wanted to make an entertaining video. Also, I've been talking about animated movies less. We're going back to animated movies today. And we're going to be keeping the questions simple. What is the best animated movie never made? Welcome to another episode of... Oh, wait. Okay, I'll go this way. Welcome to another episode of... I didn't realize. Obviously, it goes without saying that animated films take a long time to make. As someone who's maybe a bit less knowledgeable on the making of animated movies than I would be, how long do you think they'd take, Vego?
I'd say about 1 to 3 years.
No, I think it's closer to about 4 to 7 years. So there are a few stages. Obviously, I've never worked at an animation studio. I don't know everything about this, but to my knowledge, there's a general pitch. You've got a bit of storyboarding, you've got a bit of designing the characters, making models of them. Then you start casting and actually making the proper animation. Most of these movies don't quite reach the animation stage. They mostly reach the concept art. If they reach the storyboarding stage and some test animation, they've got pretty far along to be cancelled. I've basically made a list of my top 5 best animated movies that never got finished. We're gonna go through its title, what we knew about it, how far along it was, why it got scrapped, if we know, and then we'll review each one and decide how good we think it would have been and conclude which one's the best movie. So the first movie that I want to put on the list and that I think had so much potential to be just like a Disney animated recent modern classic, let's say, is called Gigantic. So this was a computer animated musical by Disney. So I think this one would have been kind of similar in style to the likes of Tangled or Frozen, that sort of thing, as it was a fairy tale adaptation of Jack and the Beanstalk. The basic plot sees Jack, obviously a key character from Jack and the Beanstalk.
Wait, Jack is the important character in Jack and the Beanstalk?
No, but I actually think Jack's the main character in this, because he meets a young giant girl and she takes him in as her new pet. That's basically all we know, but apparently there were plans for there to be some evil giants in there, and also like the goose that lays golden eggs. They were planning on including all the tropes and stuff from the original Jack and the Beanstalk.
For some reason, every trope you've mentioned about Jack and the Beanstalk sounds like just weird phrases people say.
Everything about Jack and the Beanstalk feels like it was a fever dream. But no, this is real. This is a thing that we all grew up with. As a basic story, it's hard to say whether that could have been good or not. I mean, it depends how fleshed out it was. But the main reason I would have been excited for this movie is because it was going to be directed by Nathan Greno, I think that's how you pronounce it, who notably directed Tangled, or co-directed Tangled. Everyone likes Tangled. This would have been his first directorial film on his own, I guess. And I think giving Nathan Greno, who directed that, a chance to make his own movie about Jack and the Beanstalk, I think it could have been great. We don't know that much about the story, but we do know it got pretty far along. It was actually scheduled for a 2018 release in November, but do you know what came out in November 2018 instead?
Nope.
Ralph Breaks the Internet.
I was gonna guess that. Why didn't I just guess it?
Once they moved it back, they actually moved it behind Ralph Breaks the Internet and Frozen 2, and it was scheduled for a 2020 release, and since then it has just been shelved.
This feels like a timeless thing, though. It doesn't feel like it has to happen at any point, like any particular point.
No, that's the thing with a lot of these as well, is they got shelved 2 years ago. This could still come out if they wanted to finish it. This one actually had concept art, storyboarding. There's an Easter egg in Zootopia that references the existence of this movie. And this is crazy to me. There was a whole musical number to this film revealed at D23 in 2015. There are a couple reasons I felt like maybe could have been the cause of it not coming out. Firstly, Puss in Boots kind of explores the Jack and the Beanstalk storyline. I don't know if that's a factor in there. Also, the plot feels very, very similar to, and this is gonna really show off my obscure Disney knowledge, Tinkerbell and the Great Fairy Rescue. Do you know the third Tinkerbell movie? I can't believe you haven't seen the Tinkerbell movies.
I've seen like one of them when I was a child on Disney.
I'm just saying, if you put us in a lineup and someone said, point at the one who you think has seen all the Tinkerbell movies, it wouldn't have been me. But yeah, because Tinkerbell and the Great Fairy Rescue revolves around a young girl who finds a fairy from Tinkerbell, and she wants to keep the fairy, but her dad's like a scientist that wants to experiment on her and stuff. I feel like that plot's kind of similar, kind of like combining two worlds. However, with that said, despite these films having some similar story beats, they also came out in 2010 and 2011. So this film was being worked on years and years after they'd both been released. Meaning, I don't think that can have been too much of a factor. They've spent years scripting this after those films have come out. The only statement we've got from Disney was in 2017 that it was scrapped due to creative differences.
That sounds like the director wanted something very specific and then was told no.
Probably something like that, yeah. Thoughts in all, what do you think? Do you think that... I think it would have been good if it had come out.
To be fair, I do think it sounds good, but also it doesn't sound like, wow, oh my god, that's such a cool interpretation of it.
Given their track record, I think all of those movies are really good, being Tangled, Moana, Frozen, and Encanto, and I think it would have been similar to all of those. Even if it was the worst of those five, it would have still been a good movie. And that brings us on to the next one. This one is called Boo. What do you think this is about? Just...
The character Boo?
No. This should not...
A ghost.
You're getting somewhere. I just want to say though, this should not be confused with the fake movie poster that I made a video about in 2018 called Boo. There was a fake poster released for a Monsters Inc. sequel called Boo, showing her as an adult. It was fake. That does not exist. This movie, on the other hand, is about Boo, B-O-O, the Bureau of Otherworldly Operations.
Sounds like Monsters Inc.
I literally thought the exact same thing. This is a DreamWorks computer animated supernatural action movie. That was a lot of words, but you got all of those, right? Yeah. And it's about two ghosts who find themselves in an extraordinary afterlife adventure where they join the Bureau of Otherworldly Operations. I can't remember the final word. It does remind me of Monsters Inc. because it's Monsters Incorporated. Let's take these mythical things, or like monsters, ghosts sort of things, and make them have real world jobs.
Just when you think you've escaped capitalism, you think even dying could get you out of this horrible world.
Not even dying gets you out of the way. Do they have to become ghost hunters? No, there are ghost hunters in the real world, and they, as the ghosts, have to fight the ghost hunters. The ghost hunters are the bad guys, by the way, in this movie, I take it. And ultimately, they must face off against the planet's greatest ghost hunter. I guess that's like the boss battle at the end. That's the general premise of what we know about this movie. It feels very Monsters Inc.-esque, which is good, to be honest. I like the idea of exploring this hidden world behind this thing that we don't know anything about. So, as a premise, I think that's actually quite good. It was set to be directed by a guy called Tony Leondis, who I don't imagine is someone you know, but most notably directed some Disney sequels. He directed Lilo and Stitch, Stitch Has a Glitch. He was an executive producer on Kronk's New Groove. See, this one seems to have got pretty far along. There looks like there are some like first look images and 3D animated stuff. Weirdly, this is the part I can't get my head around. If you Google it, there is an entire cast with named characters. So I take it, yeah, they'd fully cast this movie. And it also, based on those images, it looked like it was pretty far along. But I also I have no clue how all of that information is readily available for an unreleased movie online. I'm struggling to find a official announcement that it got cancelled. It just feels like it got a bit unlucky. So it was actually scheduled for a release in June 2015, but they moved it because Inside Out was set to come out in June 2015, and they knew it wouldn't be able to compete with Inside Out because of all the hype around it. And then also, just to pile on, and I think this part's quite sad, DreamWorks closed their Redwood City animation studio in January 2015 and laid off 500 artists. And from there, it just seems to have disappeared from that point. The guy who made it, Tony Leondis, said it's a good movie that, in an interview. However, he left DreamWorks in 2017 and directed the Emoji Movie.
Oh, no.
So maybe we didn't miss out on anything. I think this could have been a great movie. I also think a great director can make bad movies. it can happen. Because also, he joined the Emoji Movie in 2017. That movie came out in 2018, so he kind of... The concept was already there. He just directed it. What do you think? Do you think...
I think it sounds like a more fun concept than the other one, Gigantic.
Now, the next one is the first, and I'm pretty sure one of the only scrapped original Pixar films. That's a pretty good track record of going through with things that they've made. They probably should have pulled the plug on some of them, but, you know. This is a pretty famous one. I think most people who watch this video will be familiar with this. It's called Newt. Newt is about the last remaining male and female blue-footed newts on the planet who are forced together by science to save their species. We've got two newts, and they got a crazy plot twist. They can't stand each other.
Oh, whoa, I would have never expected that. So they have to fight through their differences, and by the end, they will have a family.
So this reached a concept art stage. It had an Easter egg in Toy Story 3 and had an official release date for 2011. There seems to be, with the concept art, a lot of like science characters this story revolves around. There's a movie that is a lot more similar to it that wasn't by Pixar called Rio. That came out in 2011 by Blue Sky Studios, and it has basically the exact same plot. And I think once that came out, Pixar realized what that film was about and realized their movie was exactly the same as it. Yeah, it just inevitably got scrapped. I think one of the main reasons I would have been excited for this movie is because it was going to be directed by the director of the Pixar short Lifted. This is a short that I think could have been a full movie because it's such a fun concept. Obviously, I just didn't have enough of an idea. But it's basically, it's an alien doing like a driver's test, and he's trying to learn how to abduct humans. And because he's really bad at driving, he keeps failing. I think it's one of Pixar's best shorts. And obviously, it was during this Pixar golden age. However, the fact it got scrapped and Cars 2 came out in 2011 isn't the best sign. I would have liked Newt, realistically, because it's a Pixar original, and there aren't many Pixar originals I don't like. For me, therefore, I think I'm going to have to put this top of my list just because it's Pixar.
I think the concept sounds... But sure, it probably would have been good.
Also, one of the main reasons it got cancelled, while I did mention Gary Rydstrom was directing it, but the movie was eventually given to Pete Docter to direct, and this is actually quite common with animated movies. They often do switch around the directors of it, and the main reason given to why it got scrapped was because Pete Docter wanted to make another movie instead, and you'll know this movie. Inside Out. The next one, also weirdly similar to Inside Out, and I think that's probably the reason it got scrapped, but is called Can You Imagine? And this is my first and only Sony Animations pick.
What's that title?
Can You Imagine? Okay, so we're already going, this sucks. It's got a bad title. I just want to say, for me, Sony Animation has become one of my favorite animation studios in the last 5 years. And this was announced in 2014 to be released in 2018. Basically, Sony Animation made a string of movies that I didn't think were particularly good, ending with the Emoji Movie. And then after the Emoji Movie, they made one of the best animation movies of all time, in my opinion, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This movie was scheduled to come out in the middle of that. I'm including it at the start of the Spider-Verse era, rather than at the end of the Emoji Movie era. However, this movie did not get particularly far along. As I said, I don't think there was actually an official announcement. The only thing we have about it is the director said it was a fantastic journey through a boy's imagination. Can you see what I mean about this might be a little bit similar to Inside Out, if this is a movie inside someone's head?
Yes.
That's been done before, you might say. And then since then, there has just been an Instagram post in 2017 with some concept art saying it never got made. As I said, from the brief description, it sounds too similar to Inside Out, but looking at the concept art, I'm not sure if it even is, or if it was just batshit insane. What is this? What? How is this the same movie? The director actually made Hotel Transylvania.
Oh. I think this is the bottom of the list for me.
Yeah, I think I'm inclined to agree. The next movie I've saved best till last.
Wow.
I'm going to put at number 1. And my number 1 that we're going to get into once I'm so bad at opening letters. This is actually a big weakness of mine. This is how I do it. I rip it like this. Is Me and My Shadow. This movie got far along, and I think everything about this movie just had instant classic written all over it. This is also a DreamWorks movie, similar to Boo. It mixes hand-drawn and computer animation. So basically, this movie is trying to tell the story of the shadows of every person and how they have their own life and ambitions in their own shadow world. You have this guy in the real world called Daniel, and he's boring. If you look at the character design and everything, his character is boring. That's the point. But his shadow, called Shadow Dan, wants... Okay, Vegard, you should be laughing at Me and My Shadow. This is a great movie.
Okay, sorry.
His shadow, Shadow Dan, wants this exciting life of adventure, and therefore he has to take control of Daniel when there's like a crime committed in the shadow world, and they go on an adventure together, and like Daniel gets like put out of his comfort zone. I just think this sounds fascinating because I think the concept of there being this shadow world is really exciting. You're mixing the 3D animation of the human characters and the 2D animation of the shadows.
Also, you know what's cute? I don't know if this is cute. This is just gonna sound sad, but did you ever like befriend your shadow as a kid?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's great. And also, the director, Mark Dindal, made... Are you laughing at people's names again, Vegard?
Yeah,
Also, the director, Mark Dindal, and I think this is very high praise, directed the movie Emperor's New Groove.
Perfect.
As I said, this one actually got quite far along. There's even test animation that's been leaked out there. This also has a voice cast consisting of Bill Hader, or as I like to call him, Adam, what was his name? Bill Hader. Kate Hudson, Josh Gad, and Tom Hiddleston. I find this absolutely insane. According to IMDb, Owl City, you know, the people who made Firefly, yeah, composed an entire soundtrack for this movie with track names revealed, but the music was never released. That makes me even more excited for the film. Like, Owl City made a soundtrack for it. I think this film would have been great. I think just the Owl City soundtrack, that's Wreck-It Ralph vibes. The Shadow World is like, that's exciting, interesting. The story would have been, I just know that would have been good. The director made Emperor's New Groove, and then they moved it to the director who made Kung Fu Panda 3. Just, it was all there. It was all there to be great. It was set to be released in 2014. Then it was pushed back to 2015, then pushed back to 2016, only to be cancelled. According to this tweet, the CEO and co-founder of DreamWorks, Jeffrey Katzenberg, fell asleep during a test screening of this movie. And all he basically said after he fell asleep was that this isn't a $200 million movie. He decided he would rather be making The Boss Baby and Captain Underpants. I just don't get how The Boss Baby could have been made and this wasn't. The question we're going to answer today is which of these movies is best? And I'm concluding Me and My Shadow. But you should let me know which of these movies you think is best in the comments section down below. And if you enjoyed this video,
sign the petition to get it made. Okay.
And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out the series. So yeah, we've made about 7 of these episodes. They're coming out every week. I hope you're enjoying them. If this is your first one watching, we've got a whole playlist of them. You can also check out longer versions of them on Patreon for $1 a month. And yeah, leave a like, subscribe, watch another video, check out my Patreon, as I just mentioned in the description down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the sequel. Oh yeah, I didn't mention it. Wait, I'll say this really quickly while we're still doing the end cards. We can make a sequel to this video of animated sequels that got cancelled. So if you want to see that, make sure to smash like. Because, yeah, then we might make that video.